When empaths stop being available, people panic. Here's why. They call it silent treatment. They call it cold. They call it attitude. But when an empath stops being available, it's rarely a game. It's usually the end of a role you've been playing for years. And the panic you see in other people isn't always love. Sometimes it's withdrawal. Sometimes it's loss of control. Sometimes it's the shock of realizing you were the emotional safety net and the net just disappeared. In a minute, I'll explain the hidden psychology behind why some people panic the moment you stop being reachable. And later, I'll show you the one sign that tells you whether their sudden attention is real growth or just fear of losing access. Here's the first truth. Empaths often don't realize how much they do for others until they stop doing it. You are the one who replies quickly. You are the one who remembers birthdays, moods, shifts in tone. You are the one who smooths tension before it becomes conflict. You are the one who checks in after a strange message, who asks, "Are you okay?" Even when you were the one hurt. You are the one who keeps the emotional room warm. And when you stop being available, you don't just stop responding, you stop managing. That's what people feel, not your absence, the absence of your emotional labor. Now here's a pattern interrupt. The people who panic the fastest are often the people who benefited the most from you having weak boundaries, because availability gives certain people something they become dependent on without admitting it. They become dependent on your reassurance, your forgiveness, your patience, your willingness to explain yourself instead of expecting respect, your habit of taking the blame just to restore peace. So when that supply disappears, their system reacts like something is wrong, not because they love you deeply, because the dynamic changed and they don't know how to stand in the discomfort that you used to carry for them. You can see it in small moments. You don't respond for a few hours, and suddenly they double text. First message, "Hey." Second message, "Are you mad?" Third message, "Why are you acting like this?" That escalation isn't closeness, it's anxiety. It's the nervous system saying, the usual access isn't working. Or you set a simple boundary, and they reply with a strange intensity. You've changed. Who hurt you? You think you're better than everyone. Old you would explain, soften, reassure. New you stays calm, and their reaction grows louder. That's the panic, not always screaming, often accusing. Now let's go deeper. Why does this happen so often to empaths? Because many empaths were trained to be available, not trained in a classroom, trained in childhood. When love was unpredictable, you learn to stay alert. You learn to sense moods. You learn to anticipate needs. You learn that being easy, helpful, and emotionally intelligent kept connection stable. So you became good at earning closeness. But here's the hidden cost. If you had to earn closeness, your availability became your currency. You gave access to your attention, your empathy, your responsiveness, your understanding, and people learned, consciously or unconsciously, that you would be there even when they weren't. That's why, when you stop being available, it feels like betrayal to them. But it was never a promise you made. It was a pattern they relied on. Now, another pattern interrupt. You are not too kind. You are often too willing to cover for what others refuse to carry. And the moment you stop covering, the truth shows itself. Here are the 3 reasons people panic. Watch which one fits your life. First, some people panic because your availability was their emotional regulator. They didn't know how to soothe themselves. They used your presence as a medication. If they felt insecure, they came to you. If they felt lonely, they came to you. If they made a mistake, they came to you for comfort before accountability. So when you pull back, their anxiety rises. They don't call it anxiety. They call it, you changed. Second, some people panic because your availability kept them from facing consequences. You forgave quickly. You didn't hold them to repair. You accepted vague apologies. You accepted "I was busy" when you knew it was avoidance. You accepted half effort because you could feel their pain. So when you stop being available, Consequences arrive. They feel exposed, and exposure feels like panic. Third, some people panic because your availability gave them control. Not always in a sinister way. Sometimes it's subtle. They could disappear and return when they wanted. They could give you crumbs and still keep you close. They could be inconsistent and you would interpret it as they're struggling, not they're choosing. Your availability made inconsistency feel safe for them, so when you remove it, they scramble. They try to regain the old position. Now let's talk about the moment this usually changes for you. It's not a dramatic decision, it's a quiet internal shift. You get tired in a specific way. Not tired of people. Tired of being the one who makes it work. Tired of being the one who explains your pain so it sounds reasonable. Tired of being the one who checks in after you were ignored. Tired of carrying the relationship's emotional oxygen. And then something happens. Your nervous system stops cooperating with self-erasure. You still have empathy, but you no longer have the same tolerance for being used. That's when availability ends. And here's what many people don't understand. When an empath stops being available, it often looks sudden, but it's usually the result of 1,000 small moments. The moment they forgot the promise again. The moment they joked about something that hurt you and expected you to laugh. The moment they only reached out when they needed something. The moment you felt your body tighten before replying, like your own phone was asking you to abandon yourself. You don't stop being available because you're cruel. You stop because you finally include yourself in your compassion. Now, I promised a second open loop, how to tell whether their sudden attention is real or just panic. Because after you pull back, many people come back warmer. They send longer messages. They respond faster. They act like they've finally realized. And for an empath, that can feel like hope. So here's the test. Watch what happens after the relief. Panic creates intensity. Growth creates consistency. Panic makes people rush in when they fear losing you, then relax and return to old patterns once they feel secure. Growth looks different. Growth includes accountability. Growth includes repair. Growth includes change behavior, even when they don't feel threatened. So if they return, don't ask only, do they want me? Ask this, do they respect my boundary when they are not afraid? That's the real measure. Now here's your action step. It's simple, and it works because it removes the addictive loop. For the next 7 days, practice the 2-message rule. If someone reaches out, you respond once, calm, clear, respectful. If they ignore your response, you do not send a second message to restore closeness. No just checking, no softening, no chasing. You let the silence speak, because chasing turns your nervous system into a servant again. And this isn't about pride. It's about training your system to stop equating love with pursuit. Here's how it might feel at first. Your chest tightens. Your mind rushes. You want to fix the tension. You want to make sure you're not misunderstood. That discomfort is not danger. It's withdrawal from an old pattern. And the reward is clarity. You will quickly see who shows up with steadiness and who only shows up when they feel you slipping away. Now, another pattern interrupt, because this is where many empaths get trapped. If someone only becomes kind when you become unavailable, their kindness is not love. It's a strategy. Love doesn't need the threat of loss to behave well. Love can tolerate a boundary. Love can hear no without punishing you. Love doesn't turn your self-respect into an accusation. So, if they respond to your boundary with anger, guilt, or sudden victimhood, don't rush to soothe them. Notice it. You didn't harm them. You disrupted the dynamic, and some dynamics survive only when you abandon yourself. That's the truth behind the panic. Now let's make this land in your body, because this isn't just intellectual. You feel it. You feel it when you stop replying quickly and your nervous system waits for backlash. You feel it when you don't explain and the silence feels loud. You feel it when you choose rest instead of rescuing. That is healing, not comfortable healing. real healing, because the empath's transformation is not becoming colder. It's becoming more honest. Honest about what your availability has been costing you. Honest about how often you've been the easy one while secretly feeling alone. Honest about how many relationships were held together by your patience, not mutual care. So here's the fast recap. People panic when you stop being available because you were doing emotional labor they depended on. Some panic because you regulated them. Some panic because you protected them from consequences. Some panic because your availability gave them control. Your action step is the 2-message rule for 7 days, so your nervous system stops chasing and starts observing. And the final truth is this: when you stop being available, you don't lose the right people. You reveal them. If this hits you in a place you don't usually say out loud, subscribe, because the next video is the continuation of this exact shift. In the next video